Hi, my name is Kathy, and I'm here to talk to you about the SAVE program that we've done this week with my son, David. David just turned 7 last month, and we've been coming to see Dr. Newbrander for 4 years now. Dr. Newbrander had mentioned the SAVE program to me the last time we were here in the office, but the bed wasn't here yet, and it sounded really interesting because David he's definitely a sensory kid. He's definitely had sensory issues. So we've come a long way with OT and tackling some of them, but we still get a lot of sensory issues. What I see most with David is he has difficulty with depth perception and judging distances. He's always been very cautious, never a climber, scared of spinning, scared of swings, not riding a bike, real difficulty with gross motor. Particularly. And what we have particularly seen this week, I think, well, the other thing that David does is he does a lot of vocal stimming, and a lot of scripting, and like a lot of the kids who are patients here, really addicted to his iPad. So I think for David, the iPad, I mean, he could have the television going, the iPad, and the iTouch all going at the same time, and he's not even particularly looking at any of them. It's just background noise. It's just noise. And I'm not quite sure why that is. We've never been able to figure out if he's trying to block out something that's uncomfortable to him or if he's trying to focus, but then all he does is script. So we get a lot of vocal stimming and a lot of scripting and a lot of nonsense words. And the words are in his head, but he's not able to get the words out. So I can ask him a question and I can say, David, what do you want for breakfast? And he'll go, clear as day, I want the green BMW. And it doesn't make any sense. And he knows that it's not the correct thing to say. And then immediately he gets anxious. And then we really struggle with getting proper language out of him. So what we found straight away, the very first day on the bed while we were doing the program, was because of the movement of the bed, the head actually sort of tips below flat. And David was like this in the bed, really quite scared and uncomfortable, but not upset. He didn't fuss, he didn't cry, nothing like that. But you could just tell he was rigid, and he lay, really hard and really rigid. And slowly over the course of the week, he loosened up, he became more confident. We started seeing his knees come up during the treatment. We started seeing his arms come up in the treatment. And I mentioned this morning, he's done 9 out of the 10 treatments now. And because of the way the bed moves and the screen is static, his body is being moved closer to the screen and further away and this way and that way. And what I saw with him this morning was that he's got his arms out and he's almost like measuring as his body is moving up and he's approaching the screen. He's definitely much more aware of where his body is in space. So while we've been out and about this week, a few changes that I noticed with him was David's always had issues with things like stairs that have open tread. If you're in an open atrium and there's like a glass barrier, he gets real kind of, ooh, that's an edge and I don't want to get too close to that, and will grab your hand. Escalators freak him out, elevators freak him out. The gap between when you get on and off an elevator, there's that slight little gap, that upsets him. When you get on and off an airplane, that gap between the jet bridge and actually being on the aircraft itself, that's very scary to him. And he'll grab your hand and he gets really worked up about it. So what I noticed was one of the days we went to the mall and we were doing some shopping in between treatments, and we were on the second level of the mall, and there's like a glass kind of barrier that you can look over down into the atrium onto the lower level. And whereas previously David would have never even walked on that side of me, now he kind of, at one stage he was holding my hand and he was squeezing it and he was looking, and I was going, it's okay, I'm here, don't worry, we're not going to go over the edge, we're like 5 feet away from it. And he actually kind of threw my hand down, ran over to the edge, touched it, and then came back. So he was almost sort of testing himself in his perception of, okay, I'm not actually going to go over the edge, okay, there is actually a barrier there. I don't know, maybe he feels less dizzy. It's hard to know because he's not able to verbalize what he's feeling. Then on the Wednesday of the program, Maria had said to us that what we needed to do was start adding in some sort of proprioceptive activities for him. And we've definitely been seeing that certainly by day 2, day 3, he was seeking proprioceptive input. So he's going around, he's squeezing my hand, squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. He's looking for squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. David's always kind of liked deep pressure, but this was a new thing that I've certainly never seen him looking for that before. So today, to make things difficult for him and just to, get some proprioception in there, we had some Hershey's Kisses in the hotel, and we put them on a high shelf in the kitchen of the hotel. And he wanted them, and he was going to want chocolate, want chocolate. And so I said, well, you know what? If you want it, you're going to have to climb, because that would be scary to him. And his grandmother was with me, and he went over, and he picked up a chair, and lifted it and carried it, and it was over a rug, and it kind of caught a little bit, and he's going, help me, and I just, I'm not getting up and I'm not helping you. And got that chair and got it there, and, kind of went like this, and he climbed. And I mean, that child doesn't climb. So that was, he climbed. He wanted that chocolate. And it was so funny because he went up, he got one, so we said, why don't you give one to Connor, who's his brother? And he stood on the chair and handed the chocolate down to Connor. Now, I was amazed at that because of not just the balance, but, before he wouldn't have climbed to get that chocolate before. No matter how badly he wanted it, he wouldn't have climbed to get it. And so he handed one chocolate down to Connor. He brought one down for himself. He took the chair, he moved it back. 5 minutes later, I want more chocolate. And Nanny and I said, well, you know what? Off with you. Here comes the chair. Climb up, and he went back and forth until I finally said, okay, enough chocolate, you'll, be sick on the bed now this afternoon. But I thought that was brilliant, because before, nothing would have been reinforcing enough to make him spontaneously want to climb. So I was really pleased with that. Another thing that we saw that, again, was sort of unusual, I mean, he plays with his older brother, but in our house what you see is an awful lot of parallel play. Or David circling around his older brother, watching but sort of unable to get stuck in. And, slowly it's improved over time, but this week we got a big Lego. And Connor and David were working on it together. And, Connor's 10, and it was a very ornate Lego thing, and David wanted to reach in and touch something, and Connor got sort of annoyed and told him, hey, don't do that. And David actually kind of pushed his brother and said no. And I mean, we've never seen that. Never. Like, David has been always so passive. Like, any child could come over to him and snatch a toy and run away, and David would just, I don't not know how to react to it or not get upset, or I don't know what it was. But I mean, I was delighted, and I'm not saying I want to see my boys fight, but I would like to see some slightly more normal interaction. It would be lovely for me to yell at my boys for fighting, because they're 7 and 10, and that's what they should be doing. They should be fighting. So, it was a minor thing, but I really was blown away by that. Language. Unprompted spontaneous language. I mean, not huge stuff, but in terms of initiating conversations, he's come into the office we've been coming here for 4.5 years, as I said, and he never once has greeted anybody in this office without being prompted. And he knows Rick, talks about Rick all the time at home. Want to go see Rick? Want to go to Dr. Duwriter's office? Want to go see Rick? And then we get to the office, and Rick comes out, and he just... And this morning, he walked straight up to... I don't even think Rick greeted him first. He said, hi, Rick. And then I think Joe came out or somebody else and said hello, and he generalized his greeting. It wasn't even like a rote greeting. He didn't, that's what caught me, was that it wasn't a rote greeting. He didn't just repeat what the person said to him. He sort of generalized the greeting, and I had never seen that before. And he said hi to the girls behind the desk before they said anything to him, which again is a first in all the years we've been coming here. Gosh, what else? His sleeping is fine, but then David has always slept well. This week I found that, I mean, we're staying in a hotel. We're not at home, so already we're out of his usual routine, and also time difference. And his grandmother did say to me, he's very independent this week, particularly because we're not at home, in getting himself food when he wants it, or getting himself water. I mean, you know, for David, it's always kind of been the path of least resistance. And in the past, because he was so nonverbal, if he asked for anything, I would just give it to him, right? So he could say, want water. And I'd go, oh my God, he talked. I'll get him some water. Whereas, you know, now, he just watched and he saw, okay, the glasses are kept here. Okay, this isn't our house. He doesn't know that, but he watched us, he saw it, he knew that's where the glasses were. He went to the sink, turned on the tap, got water, drink, drink, drink. It's empty. Put it down and, you know, I mean, that was great to see the independent self-care, which I know he can do at home, okay, but in a new environment that he was able to generalize it just like that that was great. He's been eating super. I don't know what that's about. David is a really picky eater in general and not super handy with cutlery. But, you know, we left this morning after having treatment and went off to IHOP, and I mean, he picked up a piece of bacon and ate it like that. And I mean, David would have always been a little bit tactile defensive, sensory defensive. The food always had to be cut really small so that it wouldn't touch his mouth and, you know, this kind of stuff. And to pick up a piece of bacon and eat it, I've never seen him do that before. So that was a first as well. I just can't wait to get him home and get him on the trampoline and get him kicking a ball with his brother and, you know, seeing what else comes. Oh, about the iPads, because I know everybody's been talking about this. Not interested. Just like everybody else, not interested. Has asked for it, and, you know, I'm not sure what that's about, if he's just checking in, wanting to make sure it's still there, and you can give it to him, and he just sort of turns it on, sees that it's functioning, and walks away. He's picked up books, and really kind of sat and sort of studied them. So I think his ability to maybe focus on a task for that little bit longer is a little bit better. When we've gone to restaurants while we've been here, you know, they always give you the kids menu and the crayons. And he's never liked coloring, and he's still not doing a super job coloring, but in terms of his grasp, you know, he's not trying to write or color like this. He's actually got the pyramid grip and you know, again, without prompting, like normally I'd be like, hold it properly, you know, and he really, to me, overall, just seems more independent. More willing to self-correct, and less prompt dependent, which is fantastic. Long may it continue. That's your last name, Connor.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm David's older brother, and I've seen some huge improvements this week. First of all, what my mother said about the Lego, there's two things I want to say. One, when I built it and put it together, you know, he's been much more able. Usually my mom has to go up to him and sometimes say, when he's just staring at it, you know, what do you see, David? What's in the bar, for example? And then today and further on this week, he's been going in and he's saying, it's a fan, it's a chair, it's a ball, something like that. Incredibly unprompted, which I think is amazing, because 6 months ago he would just stare at that and wouldn't say anything to us. About the incident where he pushed me, I thought that was amazing. Like my mom said, he's extremely passive. If a kid takes something away from him, he'll just stare at the kid, walk away, won't say anything. If David's able to stand up for himself, this is great. I think that this week he's become much more independent in what he does, much more self-control. I think he's become much better. He's tried to be included a lot more. Like my mom said, sometimes when he sees me playing on the iPad, he just circles around. He's become much more included. He wants to get in there. I think that this week in the SAFE program has made him, I've seen some huge improvements with him.